Does the world truly understand what is happening when a major economic media outlet places the name of a K-pop idol alongside Elon Musk and Jeff Bezos, while the architect behind it all chooses silence, as if aware that silence itself can be the most dangerous message? This is the question that has begun to echo softly yet piercingly since the Economic Times brand equity officially recognized Jungkook as one of the most influential people in the world, at the very moment Shi-hyuk said not a single word. There was no press conference, no victory statement, no corporate celebration. There was only silence, and precisely because of that, the world began to suspect that we are witnessing something far greater than the achievement of a pop star. Jungkook, the main vocalist and magnate of BTS, is certainly no stranger to the global stage. However, the recognition granted by the Economic Times brand equity in September 2021 placed him in an entirely different context. This was not a typical popularity list. It was not a music award. It was a list usually occupied by the drivers of the global economy, decision-makers, figures capable of shaking markets with a single social media post. And there Jungkook's name appeared, not as a Korean singer, nor merely as an Asian celebrity, but as a figure whose brand power was assessed as capable of moving cross-national economies. A shift in meaning so profound that many observers fell silent, because the implications were simply too large to ignore. The Economic Times brand equity, a leading economic media outlet from India, explicitly highlighted Jungkook as one of the most influential celebrities in global branding, particularly through what they described as unpaid organic endorsements. In economic terms, this represents something almost impossible to replicate. Influence that is not bought, not contracted, and not artificially manufactured. Jungkook does not appear in television commercials for these brands. He does not read promotional scripts. He simply lives, shares moments of his daily life, and the world reacts in ways conventional marketing analysts never imagined. The most frequently cited example is the Tizen phenomenon. A kombucha brand previously known only within a limited circle suddenly became a global talking point after Jungkook was seen drinking the product during a V-Live broadcast. There was no aggressively displayed logo, no call to purchase, yet the results were extraordinary. Sales tripled, stock sold out in a short time, international markets opened, physical stores began to appear, and the brand ultimately won the 2021 Brand of the Year award. As a gesture of respect, Tizen even made a donation in Jungkook's name, a symbolic act demonstrating that this influence had moved beyond ordinary business relationships. This was no longer about promotion, it was about public trust moving collectively. What makes this phenomenon even more disruptive is the consistency of the pattern. It was not only Tizen. Kombucha sales overall were reported to have increased by up to 5-fold, indicating that what was being sold was not merely a single brand, but a lifestyle, an image, and Jungkook's personal credibility. In the world of modern branding, this represents the highest form of social capital, when consumers no longer buy products, but instead buy the meaning they feel from a figure they trust. Yet amid all the numbers, charts, and economic analyses, one statement from Jungkook became the emotional center of gravity of the entire narrative. In an interview, he said that restaurants were struggling, many shops were closing, and that if he could influence even just one person, it would already be meaningful. He added that sometimes those influenced by him also went on to donate. This sentence, simple and almost devoid of rhetoric, reveals a sharp contrast between the global power he possesses and the personal humility he maintains. Here, Jungkook emerges not only as an economic influencer, but as a moral figure who understands influence as responsibility, not merely as power. The Economic Times brand equity list itself is not ranked. There is no number one, no last place. There are only individuals with significant impact in their respective fields. Elon Musk with his innovations in social media power, Jeff Bezos with his global e-commerce empire, Prince Harry and Meghan Markle with their social and media influence through the Archwell Foundation, and Jungkook, a member of BTS, with personal brand power capable of moving markets organically. This juxtaposition is no editorial coincidence. It is a symbolic statement that power in the 21st century is no longer singular. It can emerge from technology, from politics, from philanthropy, and now from Korean pop music. Behind all of this, however, one name continues to surface in whispers, academic discussions, and industry speculation: Bang Shi-hyuk. The founder of HYBE, the architect of BTS, a figure known for rarely speaking without reason. When Jungkook was acknowledged globally by an international economic media outlet, many awaited Bang Shi-hyuk's reaction. Would he claim the success as a strategic victory? Would he articulate the company's vision? Would he leverage the moment corporately? None of that happened. And precisely because of this, the silence became the focal point. In the realm of power, silence is often not a sign of ignorance but of control. Bang Shi-hyuk appears to understand that the strongest influence is the one that operates without announcement. By allowing Jungkook to stand alone on the stage of global recognition, without a corporate narrative framing it, he seems to be sending a message that this power is not the result of a campaign, but the natural consequence of a long-term design that has been unfolding for years. When this news resurfaced and went viral again after being reposted by the X account at truthhurts_0, with a caption affirming Jungkook as the most influential Asian artist, public response once again proved that this influence has not faded. Thousands of views, hundreds of interactions, and discussions spreading across platforms showed that the recognition remains relevant, perhaps even more so amid an ever-shifting global landscape. The images accompanying the post, Jungkook as South Korea's most famous figure according to TikTok, winner of the People's Choice Awards as Male Artist of the Year, added another layer of visual legitimacy to an already established narrative. To this point, the question is no longer simply about Jungkook's achievements. A deeper question begins to emerge. Are we witnessing the birth of a new form of cultural power, in which an artist can influence the global economy without formal political structures? And if so, is Bang Shi-hyuk's silence a sign that he understood the direction of this transformation long before the world was ready to talk about it? If in previous decades global power was measured through asset ownership, media control, or political office, then the Economic Times recognition of Jungkook marks a far quieter yet far more radical shift. Influence has now become the world's new currency. And within this new value system, Jungkook is not merely a player, he is the standard. The question then sharpens into something more uncomfortable for many within the industry. How is it possible that a K-pop idol, with no political office and no technology company bearing his name, is able to penetrate a space long reserved exclusively for business titans and figures of global power? The answer is not as simple as popularity. Many celebrities are famous, yet very few are acknowledged by economic media as cross-sector influential figures. This is where the Economic Times brand equity did something both surprising and academic. It separated fame from impact. Jungkook is not merely known. He moves things. He is not just talked about, he changes market behavior. In economic terminology, this is called the conversion of attention into action, and it is something even many Fortune 500 CEOs fail to achieve consistently. The phenomenon of Jungkook's organic endorsements has now become a case study increasingly discussed seriously within global branding discourse. There are no contracts, no negotiations over advertising fees, no conventional marketing strategies. What exists instead is public trust, built over years through an image of authenticity, hard work, and consistency of character. When Jungkook drinks kombucha on a live broadcast, the public does not see an advertisement. They see a habit. And precisely because of that, the decision to purchase becomes reflexive, not the result of aggressive persuasion. At this point, Jungkook's influence begins to resemble a behavioral economics phenomenon. Consumers do not feel manipulated, and therefore resistance disappears. This is why the impact is so large and so fast. Tizen's sales surged, stocks sold out, global markets opened, and small business ecosystems were lifted along the way. This is not merely a victory for one brand, but proof that a single individual can create an economic domino effect without traditional infrastructure. And here is where analysts begin to ask, can this still be called entertainment, or have we entered a new phase in which pop culture becomes an instrument of the global economy? Yet every major phenomenon contains a paradox. The greater Jungkook's influence grows, the stronger the shadow of the system that produced it becomes. Bang Shi-hyuk once again emerges as a figure that cannot be ignored. As the founder of HYBE and the person who from the very beginning built BTS with a long-term approach, Bang Shi-hyuk is known for rejecting the fast-burn traditional idol model. He spoke about narrative, emotional engagement, and sustained relationships with audiences long before the term parasocial relationship entered mainstream academic discourse. Now, as Jungkook is recognized as a globally influential figure by international economic media, that approach appears to find its justification. What is surprising, however, is not the success of the strategy itself, but the way Bang Shi-hyuk positions himself outside the spotlight. There are no explicit claims, no corporate vision narrative. He allows the world to read the results for itself. In a corporate world eager to monetize every achievement, this stance feels almost subversive. Bang Shi-hyuk's silence gives rise to increasingly wide speculation. Is this a form of complete trust in his artist? Or is it part of a larger strategy, in which power is allowed to remain decentralized, so it is not bound to a single institution? In a global context, this move feels both intelligent and risky. By not tightly binding Jungkook's influence to the company's image, he allows Jungkook to grow as an autonomous global entity. And an autonomous entity, ironically, possesses far greater strategic value. Meanwhile, Jungkook's track record as a solo artist further reinforces this narrative. The album Golden, released in 2023, was not only commercially successful but also marked an important transition. Jungkook was no longer perceived solely as a member of BTS, but as a global figure with a mature artistic identity and personal brand. The song 7, which surpassed 1 billion streams on Spotify, became a symbol of rare cross-cultural power. That number is not merely a statistic, it is proof of emotional penetration across markets with vastly different cultural backgrounds. The title Sold Out King, initially sounding like a piece of fandom praise from ARMY, takes on a different meaning in the context of the Economic Times recognition. It becomes an accurate economic description. Products associated with Jungkook sell out not because of momentary hype, but because of accumulated credibility. This is a form of trust that cannot be built through short-term campaigns. And here, once again, the long-term strategic value of Bang Shi-hyuk's approach becomes evident, building artists as trusted human beings, not as walking billboards. The resurgence of this article's virality in January 2026 demonstrates that Jungkook's influence is durable over time. In a fast-moving digital era that forgets easily, the fact that recognition from 2021 can still spark widespread discussion shows that this is not a temporary trend. A post by the account at truthhurts_s0 on the platform X, with a caption demanding respect for Jungkook's name, triggered an emotional response from fans and observers alike. This was not merely fandom pride, it was a reaction to external validation long considered difficult for Asian artists to achieve on the global stage. Here, the narrative grows even more complex. Jungkook no longer represents only BTS or K-pop. He is increasingly seen as a symbol of a cultural geopolitical shift, in which Asia is no longer merely a market, but also a source of influence. And Bang Shi-hyuk, in all his silence, appears like a system architect who understands that the most stable form of power is the one that does not appear to be controlling at all. At this point, the world begins to realize that the Economic Times recognition of Jungkook is not merely a record of individual achievement, but a signal that the center of gravity of cultural power is shifting, slowly yet decisively, from old institutions toward figures capable of building global trust organically. Jungkook stands at the heart of that shift, while Bang Shi-hyuk chooses to remain in the shadows, as if understanding that the most influential role is often played without stepping in front of the camera. Bang Shi-hyuk's silence now reads as the highest form of legitimacy. He does not need to explain how this system works, because the world can see the results directly. Jungkook is recognized as one of the most influential people in the world by an international economic media outlet, placed alongside figures who have defined global power for decades. This is a moment in which entertainment, economics, and cultural geopolitics converge in a single individual. And the fact that it happens without grand declarations from the company only reinforces the impression that this influence is organic, not engineered. Jungkook's impact on small businesses, as seen in the Tizen phenomenon and the broader surge in kombucha sales, also introduces an ethical dimension rarely discussed in the context of global celebrities. He does not merely drive consumption, he also mobilizes empathy. His statement about helping even just one person, and the domino effect of donations from those influenced by him, shows that this influence carries a social charge. In a global landscape often cynical about celebrity power, this aspect becomes a significant differentiator. When the news went viral again in early 2026, public response confirmed that the world is not finished talking about Jungkook. He is not a seasonal phenomenon. He is part of a larger structural change, in which Asia is beginning to redefine its role on the map of global influence. Jungkook, as one of South Korea's most recognizable figures across digital platforms, becomes a concrete representation of that shift. And Shi-hyuk, with his nearly invisible strategy, appears to have long been preparing the stage for this moment. Now the question is no longer whether similar recognition will emerge in the future, but how the world will respond as forms of cultural power like this appear more frequently. Will old institutions adapt or feel threatened? Will organic influence continue to be valued, or will there be attempts to regulate it? Amid all these speculations, one thing is clear. Shi-hyuk's silence and the world's recognition of Jungkook have marked the beginning of a new chapter. A chapter in which the loudest voice comes from those who do not need to shout, and in which true influence no longer demands acknowledgement, because the world in the end comes on its own. And it is at this point that the narrative reaches its deepest layer. It is no longer about who is the loudest in claiming success, but about who is capable of letting results speak for themselves. Jungkook, whose global influence is now acknowledged by international economic media, has moved beyond old definitions of idol, celebrity, or even artist. He has become a new variable in the equation of power in the modern world. Meanwhile, Shi-hyuk remains exactly where he has been from the beginning. Not in front of the camera, not behind the podium, but in the quiet design space where the direction of the future is shaped. Perhaps this is the true surprise offered by the Economic Times recognition that in this new era, the greatest power does not always come from the loudest voice, but from systems built with patience, trust, and the courage to let the world discover their meaning on its own.